Every Sunday at 5 p.m. Studio B for Strange Universe. Every Sunday for Strange Universe.
Join Revolution Radio every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Studio B for Momentary Zen with host Zen Garcia at freedomslips.com, the People Station.
Are you a fan of rock and roll? Does it get your feet tapping and your hands clapping? Then be sure to check out Crypt Rick's Rock and Roll Hour every Friday night, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern and Standard Time on Studio B right here at revolutionradio.com, where we get down and talk all things rock.
This is the People's War. It is our war. We are the fighters. And may God defend the right.
Warning! Warning!
We've got to stop them! They're going to kill us all! See how the trouble you've started? Be they the government, be they industry, be they organized labor, be they anyone, or human beings. Time when the operation of the machine becomes so odious, makes you so sick at heart that you can't take part. You can't even passively take part. And you've got to put your bodies upon the gears and upon the wheels, on the
Radio at freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported talk radio station, throwing ourselves upon the gears of the machine. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
You called down the thunder, well now you got it. Right, you tell them I'm coming, and hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me.
Revolution Radio.
You're tuned to something different. No scripts, no limits, just pure, unfiltered thought. This is Free Association. Your host, Dennis Barker, brings you the ideas, the questions, and the tangents that matter. Joined by the sharp wit and insight of Karen and the one, the only Dr. Lenny Time. 3 minds, 2 hours, 0 guardrails. Free Association, because the best conversations never stay on topic. Join Dennis, Karen, and Dr. Lenny Time Thursdays at noon Eastern, Studio B, here on Revolution Radio.
Spice expands consciousness. The spice is vital to space travel.
And greetings, Earth Explorers. Welcome to X Squared Radio. I'm your host, Brooks Agnew, coming to you live from an undisclosed location east of the Appalachian Mountains. This is where the past meets the future, and in here the results are always positive. Now, we might go a little past your imagination, but have no fear. You will be safely traveling with us as we endeavor to treat, cure, and prevent the disease of ignorance. This is the voice of the revolution. And we are streaming to you live with our great friends at Revolution Radio on freedomslips.org, the #1 listener-supported network in the entire country. We're also streaming to you live on several video platforms on Rumble and YouTube and Twitch, DLive, Foxhole, Truth Refugee, everywhere where fine podcasting can be found live and free. Tatanka Dave was the first one in the chat room tonight. All right. Mind Shots is here. Gramanon is here. Yes, we try to have the positive energy. I promise you. I promise you. Who is that? Oh, Karen Draper's here. Ammon T223 is here. Distant Sight. Bosk Burning. Yeah, you guys keep the good comments coming. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Trolley Polly is here over on Twitch. Thanks for being here. Titanium 4K on YouTube. Boy Dogs 2 is out there. Woof woof to you too. And Spartan Roger. Let's see. Andrew Gibbs. Was that Frackman 55? Oh, that's good. Wars and rumors of wars in Revelation. Yeah, that's about what we have, isn't it? All the time. K.O. Kelly, Original Old Dog. Thank you guys so much for being here. Tupac Sugar. J. Scott Weller. Big D 1955. Jim Roddle's here. This is going to be a rambunctious crew tonight, I can tell you. Lonnie Littleton is here. Oh, down in Houston. That's good. That's good. Yeah. You can all say hello to each other. Let's see. Past Some is here in Foxhole, and there'll be others. Foxhole's a little slow filling up tonight, but we'll get it. We'll get it. So, I mean, there's a lot to share and a lot to unpack here because there's so much misinformation, so much deception going on. But I'm going to read you the official statement of Iran. This comes from the Deputy Chief Director of Paper Towels. Is that right? I'm pretty sure. Anyway, on behalf of the Islamic Republic of Iran, I express gratitude and appreciation for my dear brothers, Prime Minister of Pakistan, Sharif, and the Field Marshal, Munir, for their tireless efforts to end the war in the region. Wow. I don't even know what that means. But let's continue. This is the official statement. In response to the brotherly request of Prime Minister Sharif in his tweet, I guess it wasn't an official document, it was a tweet. Okay. And considering the request by the U.S. for negotiations based on its 15-point proposal, as well as announcement by the President of the United States about acceptance of the general framework of Iran's 10-point proposal as a basis for negotiations, I hereby declare on behalf of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, if attacks against Iran are halted, our powerful armed forces will cease their defensive operations. I don't know what to say. How is launching rockets at all of your neighbors defensive operations? How is launching 500 rockets at Kuwait, about the most peaceful country in the Middle East, defensive operations? The hypocrisy in this statement makes me want to throw up. Whew, I almost did. For a period of 2 weeks, safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz will be possible via coordination with Iran's armed forces and with due consideration of technical limitations, which means y'all are going to pay a poll tax. You're going to pay a tax to get through the Strait of Hormuz. Anyway, this is Syed Abbas Araghchi, and he's the Minister of Foreign Affairs, I guess, because he's alive, Islamic Republic of Japan, of Iran. Might as well be Japan. This is right next door to the Deputy Chief Director of Paper Towels, who's also evidently still alive. So what the hell is going on here? You know, I watched the press conference this morning with Pete Hegseth. He's so skillful at delivering those, so skillful at handling all those reporters. You notice how quiet and behaved they are? Oh, yeah, they're all like... And he goes, you know, if you speak out of turn, you're never going to get called on. And, of course, Raising Cane, General Raising Cane, four-star Raising Cane was there. And they did a fantastic job at selling the Department of War and how successful they have been. I was sold. I was like, wow, 40 days and 40 nights. And we brought Obama and Biden's and Valerie Jarrett's empire to its knees. And I thought to myself, okay, so we have a ceasefire, we have an agreement, we have a treaty of some kind, and Iran's going to behave itself, and ships are going to go through the Strait of Hormuz for 2 weeks, and we'll see what happens. We'll just see. And 2 hours later, less than 2 hours later, about an hour and 45 minutes later, the UAE, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, and Kuwait reported they had documented airstrikes, mostly on their energy facilities, that they attributed to Iran. Iran attacked them. They attacked them 2 hours after Hegseth's speech, like, okay, we turned all the B-52s around, we turned all the B-1 bombers around. It's 30 hours one way to get there, by the way. It's like 2 hours later, you're going, what the F are you doing? Turn the B-52s around, turn the B-1 bombers around, and go finish the job. That's what we were all saying. And no news was covering it. I had to dig and dig and dig to find this. Iran has been in an active conflict with the U.S. and Israel since February 28th because President Trump announced the launch of Operation Epic Fury. It had several objectives. One was to sink their Navy, to remove their Air Force, to remove their air defenses, and to prevent them from ever getting a nuclear weapon. They accomplished all of those. But Iran still has a lot of rockets. They have a lot of missiles, thousands and thousands of them, evidently. And I thought to myself after Pete Hegseth was done, well done, sir. Well done, Mr. Four-Star Raising Cane. Well done. I'll believe it when I see one day go by, which has not happened in years. Forget about 40 days and 40 nights. It has not happened in freaking years where Iran has not launched rockets at its neighbors. This is serious stuff, man. And it didn't happen. Not even 2 hours went by and they were launching rockets. So the Israelis took out all the supreme leaders, the supreme leader, the supreme leaderette, the assistant supreme leader, the assistant to the assistant supreme leader, the secretary of the supreme leader, the high priest of the, they're all dead. They're all dead. Hegseth had a long list of people that are now taking a dirt nap. And that was largely due to Israeli targeted strikes, We didn't really target personnel. We targeted hardware, the U.S. So yesterday, after threatening to destroy Iranian civilization, which is not really what President Trump threatened, he didn't say that Iran will cease to be a civilization. He was aiming this directly at the Islamists who are controlling the press over there. The Islamists in Iran are a very small minority, like this big, compared to the rest of the people, 93 million people in the country. And the Islamists would cease to be a civilization. That's achievable. And you know what? Iran wouldn't miss them at all. In fact, they would probably say, wow, how did we ever let that happen? And of course, Pakistan stepped in, which, they have a good back channel for us to reach these factions. And I'm going to use the word factions inside of Iran. And while the Iranian government, through the Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, acknowledged the ceasefire for about an hour and 12 minutes, neighboring Gulf states that were not clearly involved in the peace process documented Iranian attacks against them mere hours after the alleged ceasefire began. So let me get this straight. So the ceasefire is with the U.S. Like, when's the last time they launched missiles at the U.S.? Never. Maybe a few U.S. bases here and there around, but never against the U.S. We've never seen an Iranian missile cross our ocean to our borders. So the people that are out there that are professing that the ceasefire was only with the U.S. and not with all of the neighbors, you're stupid, okay? That's because the agreement that was made, the treaty that was made, the agreement that Hegseth had was with the faction that wants Iran back. They want Iran back. They want it in the hands of the civilians, and they want to go forward with a democratic governor or some government or some semblance of it. They no longer want to be under the control of the mullahs. The IRGC, however, has made so much money. I mean, they have had every benefit given to them. Money, goats, promises of 72 virgin goats. I mean, what more could they want? What more could they want besides 72 virgin goats? Well, there's nothing. There's nothing. The IRGC is made of a bunch of sissies, and they can't wait to die. They just can't wait to die. As long as it's in battle, then they get their 72 virgin goats. Well, that's not who Trump made the treaty with. Trump made the treaty with the civilian side. So the Emirati Defense Ministry announced today that it had engaged 17 ballistic missiles, 35 UAVs launched from Iran. The Ministry of Defense affirmed that it remains fully prepared and ready to deal with any threats and will firmly confront anything that aims to undermine the security of the country. But wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be wonderful if they didn't have to do that? Wouldn't it be great if Iran just stopped launching rockets, which they've been doing for, ever since Obama took office? Ever since Obama shipped $1.8 billion in cash and lifted the sanctions and allowed the Iranians to get their hands on all their oil profits that had been frozen for a while. Ever since Biden came in and lifted all the sanctions and allowed them to get something like $256 billion of cash that we had frozen around the world. Ever since then, they've been firing rockets because they had them. That's what they spent their money on building. Now, there is an argument out there, which I have joined, and I know a little bit about the industry, so I've got some authority in this argument. And the argument is the 460 kilograms of enriched uranium. You know what they're talking about? You remember when they said, okay, we're going to start the negotiations today, and we're here, and here's where we're going to start. We have 460 kilograms of 60% enriched uranium. And everybody in the room shook their heads and said, what the F? What are you doing with uranium enriched over 10%? You don't need uranium enriched over 10% to run a power station. We will give you free uranium forever to run your nuclear power station. That's because that's not uranium to run a nuclear power station. That is uranium to make bombs. And 1,000 pounds, roughly 1,000 pounds of uranium would make about 20 good-sized bombs, about 10 or 11 serious bombs, like 20 megaton. 20 million tons of TNT. One bomb that size would vaporize New York City. It would turn it to rubble, and it would kill everyone within a 3-mile distance of ground zero, just from radiation burns. And then there'd be other fallout, other death. A 20 megaton bomb is probably the most efficient hydrogen bomb size there is. Or you can make them bigger. But most of the blast goes up instead of out. They've tried that 100 megaton Tsar bombs. I mean, the concussion could be felt around the world. Did it ruin the Earth? No, it didn't ruin the Earth. In fact, we've blown off over 2,600 bombs on this planet. Think about it. Over 2,600, about 632, I think, nuclear bombs have been exploded on or above this planet. And we're still here. We're still here. And you think, well, there's some 3 or 4 star general out there who thinks that a nuclear war is fightable and they might actually do it. No, I don't think so. I mean, they think it's fightable, but they're not going to do it. But Islamists don't care. They don't care if they ride it like Slim Pickens out of the plane all the way to the ground, yelling Allahu Akbar the entire way. They don't care because they're going to get their 72 virgin goats. But the question is where? Now, the question is, did the Iranians enrich their own uranium? Did the Iranians enrich their own uranium? The Iranians. Wow. I just cracked my ass. That's funny. Yeah. Did the Iranians enrich their own uranium? This is a question. Anybody know in the chat room? Yes, it's 2.25 pounds, Gramanon. Yes, 2.25 pounds. I weigh 0.1 metric tons. Okay, that will give you an idea how much we're talking about. It's a lot. It's a lot. Huh? Okay, you're in the camp that Iran enriched their own uranium. They spun up their centrifuges and they slammed neutrons into regular old everyday uranium, which they can get their hands on pretty easy in their nation. And they enriched their own uranium. I'm kind of in that camp too. But you go back a little bit, come back with me a little bit to when Obama was first president. And you remember the deal that was made, right, for Obama to become president? Okay, let me refresh your memory. In 2008, Barack Obama was running against Hillary Clinton. That's correct. And who was more well known? Well, shit. I mean, Hillary Clinton was a household name. Now, most of the households hated her, but we knew her, right? What did we know about Barack Hussein Obama? Not a damn thing. Nothing. He had done nothing as a senator. He'd never held a job before. He never had any money before. We did not know who he was or what he was. And so you're thinking to yourself, how exactly did Obama win in 2008? Because in order to win in 2008, you had to have somebody out there campaigning for you. And that somebody was Mr. Bill Clinton. Well, you're thinking, heck, why would Bill Clinton campaign for Obama when his wife, Hillary Clinton, was running for president? Doesn't it make sense to you? It makes sense to me. It makes sense to you? Of course it does. Well, you see, Bill's pretty sharp, and so's Hillary. Barack Obama appealed to Bill Clinton several times, please come out with me on the campaign trail. I know if you campaign with me, we'll win. We'll beat the Republicans. And Bill Clinton said, well, let's see, you're running against John McCain. A cadaver could beat John McCain. You could probably do it. And Barack Obama said, no, I can't do it without you. I got to have you. And Bill said, well, there's just no way. Okay, well, there is one way. There is one way. And Barack said, what is it? What is it? Anything. And Bill Clinton simply said to Barack Obama, look, Hillary will drop out of the race, but you must pay all of her campaign debts, which were sizable. It was in the multi-millions of dollars. And Barack Obama said, screw you. I am not doing that. I'll win on my own. And Bill said, fine, go ahead. And Barack Obama went out and he was going nowhere. The pollsters hated him. Iowa hated him. Nothing was happening for Barack Obama. Hillary Clinton was going to sail past him in the Democrat primary. And so Barack Obama said, okay. I'll pay off her campaign debts. She drops out of the race. And Bill said, fine. Okay, that's great. But see, that was then and this is now. So now you're going to pay off the debts and you're going to make Hillary Clinton your Secretary of State when you win. And we're going to win. And Barack Obama had no choice. He had no choice or he would never have won the primary. Hillary Clinton dropped out of the race. Barack Obama's campaign paid off her debts and they made the deal. And they slid past McCain like the criminal he is. Smashed him. In fact, in that race, no, it was 4 years before that. It was 96 when McCain was running. I spoke on behalf of Alan Keyes at a fundraiser where McCain was speaking. And I slaughtered it. I got the standing ovation, and McCain came up to me afterwards and said, that was a real piece of literature. And I said, thank you, sir. He said, but Alan Keyes doesn't stand a chance of a snowball in hell. I said, he knows that. He just wants his ideas to be part of the platform, sir. And they were. So in 2008, Barack Obama gets elected. And the economy immediately crashes. Immediately. Like, we didn't think we were going to survive. The real estate market fell so far on its ass it couldn't get up. S&P, everything was broke. Everything was broke in 2008. I know I had a lot of stuff planned in 2008, and believe me, it all went under. But there was something else that happened while Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. She needed money, lots of money. And so she made a deal with her husband. Her husband would go speak to, and on behalf of, Frank Jeffrey in Kazakhstan to the president of Kazakhstan to make a deal for uranium from a mine in Kazakhstan. The president ended up going to jail over it, but the uranium got transferred. And the uranium came in and it was immediately processed and sold to Rosatom. Some people call it Rosatom, but it's Rosatom. which is a company owned by Vladimir Putin. Yeah. So Hillary Clinton signed off on the sale of 15% of the uranium production processing of Westinghouse to Russia. And in exchange, she got $45 million. That's the kind of money. That's the kind of money you can really build a future campaign on. Yeah. Now, the question is, that uranium, the samples were taken by Mueller. Yeah, those samples, that's exactly right. Same case. The question is it that uranium that's in Iran? Did the Russians sell that uranium to Iran? It's a good question. Was the uranium enriched at that time or partially enriched at that time? Could have been. This is the mystery that's out there. How much uranium did Westinghouse end up processing to Rosatom? Was it 460 kilograms? I'll tell you when we'll find out. We will find out. Yes, John Kerry was involved too. We'll find out when we get that uranium. When we get that 60% enriched uranium, it has a nuclide signature that is unique to the reactor it came from. It is unique. There's like a fingerprint. It has a certain decay and a certain nuclide rating, and we'll know exactly what reactor it came from. Now, if that uranium was sourced with Hillary Clinton's transaction with Rosatom for $45 million, should she go to prison? It's an open question, right? Yes, Mark Hovsepian. They're like fingerprints, radioactive fingerprints for each and every radioactive species. There are no two alike. You remember the movie Sum of All Fears? You remember that movie? You remember when Affleck's helicopter is downed and the CIA director dies, and they're trying to find out where the uranium came from, and they sourced it to the reactor. It was a U.S. reactor. It was a U.S. reactor, and it happened to be the same uranium that was sold clandestinely to Israel, and Israel made a nuclear bomb out of it. And when the jet was shot down, the bomb never launched. The bomb fell with the jet in the dirt, was found by a scavenger who died of radiation poisoning and ended up selling that to the Kazakhstan or to the Ukrainians, who built that bomb and put it in a cigarette machine at the football game in Baltimore. You remember that? That is accurate. Not all that sequence, but I mean, that is how they find out. When they get the nuclide signature of that particular species of uranium or plutonium, they know exactly what reactor it came from. If that uranium is the uranium that Hillary Clinton had Westinghouse process and sell to the Russians, should she go to prison? Is it treason? These are great questions. These are questions that are being raised right now, not just by me, but by others. If the Iranians, I love that. That's so good. If the Iranians enriched their own uranium, we're going to know. We're going to know. Anyway, since 8 o'clock this morning until now, Kuwaiti Air Defense has been dealing with an intense wave of hostile Iranian attacks. 28 drones were dealt with, targeting the state of Kuwait. Saudi news agency Al Arabiya quoted the Kuwaiti military explaining in a statement. Kuwaiti officials also verified that Iran launched a wave of drones targeting its vital oil facilities and power stations in the south of the country, resulting in severe material damage. These are not military targets. They're doing this to hurt Kuwait. I almost went to Kuwait after the Iraqis attacked Kuwait as a contractor to get their desalination plant up and running again. The pay was not as good as you might think. It was about $65,000 a year, which in 1991, I guess, was pretty good money. But it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to leave my family and go to Kuwait and be gone for 9 months. It just wasn't enough. But I know what that's about, going and living in a compound and working on a desalination plant until it's back up and running. Kuwait dies without water. They don't have rain. They have to desalinate seawater in order to survive. Gramanon. Iranian, Oranian, and Uranian. And sometimes, why Iranian? Oh, that's very good. Yeah, they destroy the world alphabet. I just thought that was funny. I don't know. A mix-up on words on my part, calling them Uranians. The Saudi Ministry of Defense also documented attacks it attributed to Iran. Wow, craziness. All day today, all day. Iran had, for much of the conflict, effectively shut down safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz. We don't really care. We don't get a drop of oil from this region, but China and Japan and South Korea, if they don't get it, they die. They have some reserves, but they need that supply. So you would think the South Koreans and the Japanese and the Chinese would be all over this, but they're keeping their distance. They're keeping their distance. After some of the tensest moments in Operation Epic Fury, several blustery messages from the president threatening to destroy the entire civilization infrastructure of Iran, the president and Iranian Foreign Minister Araghchi announced yesterday night, right before the deadline, 8 o'clock deadline, because we were on the air ready to cover it, and like 30 minutes before they had this agreement. So we talked about that and other things last night on Toxically Masculine Tuesday. But many of the Gulf states issued statements following the announcement of a ceasefire supporting the development. Everybody was happy about it. Saudi Arabia offers its support for the mediation efforts led by the Islamic Republic of Pakistan to reach a lasting agreement. And I quote, "The kingdom emphasized the importance of keeping the Strait of Hormuz open to navigation in accordance with the United States Convention of the Law of the Sea." A statement from Saudi Arabia's Foreign Ministry today read, adding, Riyadh hopes that this ceasefire will provide an opportunity to achieve a comprehensive and sustainable de-escalation. It didn't last. It didn't last. Iran immediately, I mean, they probably didn't even slow down, but they immediately violated the agreement by launching hundreds of rockets and drones. So now what? Now what happens? We turn the B-52s and the B-1s around and go back and annihilate the, quote, civilization? Maybe not. Maybe not. Because Washington, D.C. has a website called Axios. I don't know if you ever cruise it or not. But on their website, Axios, it cited an anonymous source. They almost every single day have anonymous sources, which drives me nuts. I really like to know who the source is. That the American military had indeed conducted strikes on Karg Island, but no on-the-record sources have confirmed the claim at press time. If true, it would not be the first time during the current conflict that the United States struck the island, though The kinetic action, that means bombing, in March reportedly hit only military assets protecting the island, all the anti-aircraft and machine gun nests and stuff like anti-ACAG guns, all that stuff was taken out. But the actual oil infrastructure was left alone. And we were very, very careful about that because, well, I'm speculating that it was because Karg Island is kind of the crown jewel of oil transfer. So when they get pipelined oil coming to the island, it fills up tanks. Tankers come, fill up at Karg Island, and off they go. So it's a lifeline. It's a lifeblood of Iran. So they wanted to leave it alone because they wanted the civilians of Iran to continue to be able to make money. They didn't want to push them back into the Stone Age. So the Emirati newspaper reported yesterday that blasts had been heard, and this is April, not March. There were reports of blasts on Karg Island. It did not provide any other details of the situation, but we didn't see plumes of smoke that could be seen from space. There were unverified videos of smoke clouds appearing on social media sites, but the geography didn't match. And some of it was AI generated. And even Breitbart News could not confirm that this was the case. So nobody went with it. Axios added this to the reports. This is what they claim. An unidentified senior U.S. official, who the F that is, we don't know, could confirm that America was responsible for the explosions. Axios previously reported on March 20th, again citing anonymous sources with knowledge that President Trump was considering blockading Karg Island to make it impossible for Iran to export oil. Or, and this is what I said, maybe I'm the one they quoted, that Trump should occupy Karg Island. We should send in expeditionary troops, Marines that are good at doing this, and we should seize the island, not destroy it, not hold it hostage, but we control that island. And thus also we could control almost all the traffic on the west side of the Strait of Hormuz. It is a critical point in the Iranian economy to own it. From an American standpoint, it gives us several levers of power. Number one, of course, is with the Iranian regime itself, because we take all the money. Iran gets no money from it at all, and we just kind of put it in a savings account for the next regime. The second is it gives us purview over the west side of the Strait of Hormuz, so you can't attack any tankers that come to that island. The third is it puts us in massive control of the oil that China, Japan, and South Korea need. Those three countries need that oil. China buys about 82% of all the oil that comes out of Iran. If we controlled it, we wouldn't necessarily cut it off. We wouldn't necessarily jack the price up to make it hard on China, but we would control it. And that is not a very comfortable position for China, because now China has to play nice in order to get its oil. I think it's a pretty brilliant strategy. Thank you, President Trump. Of course, President Trump describes it as a weak point, and it is, but it's also a flashpoint. It's a flashpoint in the economic war, because where does all that money go? Where does all that money flow through? It flows through the European banks in London. And the banks in London are addicted to that cash. And if we controlled it, guess where the money would go? Right over here to Charlotte, North Carolina. It would go straight to Charlotte, North Carolina, and be distributed on the east coast of the United States to all debtors concerned. All the payroll, all the retirement funds, everything would be run through Charlotte, North Carolina. In fact, Charlotte, North Carolina just added, I believe it was this week, 2,000 employees in the banking industry. That's a lot. Oh, that's a lot. For Charlotte, that's a lot of jobs. 2,000 jobs in the banking industry. Is it because we're all opening new accounts? No. It's to handle the money that we're about to seize control of coming out of Iran. We're setting up the infrastructure to take care of that as we speak this week. NBC News discovered that Trump has discussed Kharg Island as a critical weak point. We don't really talk to NBC News, so how they discovered it, I don't know. Trump said, I'd do a number on Kharg Island. I'd go in and take it, which is exactly what I said he should do 2 weeks ago. I'm sure they listened to this program because we've made massive changes to NASA and Artemis 3, Gateway Project. We've made massive changes right here on this program. And the next day, those changes are implemented. I went on Coast to Coast in February and told them, you cannot launch Artemis 3. We're not ready. You don't have the practice. It's a disaster. You need to terminate that program. That was on a Thursday. It was Thursday night, about 2 o'clock in the morning, Friday morning. Monday, they canceled Artemis 3. Tell me they don't listen to this program. The United States launched Epic 3 on February 28th. President Trump announced on Easter Sunday plans to destroy the state of Iran. Tuesday will be Power Plant Day and Bridge Day, all wrapped into one in Iran. And if you get that, it'll take them 10 years to recover. Let me put it to you this way, and I don't want to give anybody any ideas, but our country is connected together with interstate highways, right? All the even numbers one goes east and west, and all the odd ones go north and south. Now, the north and south ones, not that big a deal, right? I-15, I-65, I-75, 77, 85, blah, blah, blah. All the north and south ones, okay. But the east and west ones, 10, 40, 64, 70, 80, those east-west interstates, if those were cut in half, say at the Mississippi River or at some big gorge that a bridge might cross over, it would chop our nation in half. All the business that travels back and forth from the West Coast to the East Coast, from the East Coast to the West Coast, would stop. Yes, it could take side roads for a while, but those bridges on the side roads, they're not made to take trucks that weigh 80,000 pounds. Not 1,000 of them an hour. We would have massive bridge problems in this country if that happened. The interstate bridges are designed to take those loads. 1,000 trucks an hour easily go over those bridges without any issue. But if those bridges were taken out, and how many freeways did I mention? 6. Let's say 7 freeways. It would cripple us. It would take us, you know how long it would take to rebuild a bridge over the Mississippi River? A long time. You've seen them build 2-lane bridges over a creek. It takes them 6 months, right? When did the bridge go down in Baltimore? Hell, that was 2 years ago during the Biden administration. Is it rebuilt? Hell no. It isn't even hauled out of the way. You see what I'm saying? Bridge Day is a big deal. Big deal. Just go ask the Baltimore Harbor. All right. So now the strait is closed again. Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz today. in response to Israeli attacks against the Hezbollah terrorist group in Lebanon, casting doubt over whether an already precarious ceasefire is going to end more than a month of war. More of war will hold. So the United States and Iran both claimed victory after reaching the agreement. And world leader, and one said, well, we're going to stop our defensive operations if you stop shooting at us. Israel also intensified its attacks in Lebanon, hitting several commercial and residential areas in Beirut without warning. At least 112 people were killed and hundreds were wounded in one of the deadliest days in the latest Israel-Hezbollah war. Now, why did they attack these civilian areas? Because these civilian areas are the areas from which Hezbollah launches their attacks. They launch the rockets, which are Iranian rockets. They launch the rockets and Israel hits them back. And they just happen to be next to a school or a hospital or apartment building. That's the way it goes. Aggression towards Lebanon is aggression towards Iran. That's what General Sayed Majid Mousavi, he's the aerospace commander of Iran's Revolutionary Guard. I think he's still alive. That's what he posted on X, because that's the only way they have of getting out. They don't have a network anymore. He warned that Iranian forces were preparing a heavy response without revealing details. Like, it really doesn't matter. Everything that Iran shoots, we shoot down, unless it's the cluster bombs. If we can't get the cluster bomb when it's on its way up or on its way down, and it actually blows up and deploys the cluster, it's a cluster, let me tell you. It's a cluster. Let me skip down through this right here. Trump initially said Iran proposed a workable 10-point plan that could help in the U.S. and Israel launched on February 28th, but a version in Farsi emerged. Farsi is the official language of Iran. A version emerged in Farsi that indicated Iran would be allowed to continue enriching uranium, which is not true. Trump called it fraudulent without elaborating. They didn't think anyone here could read Farsi. I don't know. It's crazy. Vance later said the deal was being misrepresented within Iran, although he did not offer details. Iran's demands for ending the war include a withdrawal of U.S. combat forces from the region. In other words, Iran does not have to win. Iran just has to not lose. You understand that? They don't have to win. They don't have to win anything against the United States. They just have to survive, and they win. The United Nations Secretary, which is about as useful as the most useless thing you have in your house, General Antonio Guterres, personal envoy, arrived in Iran for talks on the way forward. Like, nobody cares. Nobody freaking cares. Pakistan said talks to seek a permanent end to the war could begin in Islamabad as soon as Friday. Trump told the New York Post that in-person talks would happen very soon. But do they have the authority? Do they have the authority to make a deal? Do they have the authority to make Iran stop launching rockets? We don't know. I doubt it. I doubt it. Israeli Chief of Staff, Lieutenant General Eyal Zamir, said Israel will continue to utilize every operational opportunity to strike Hezbollah. They're not quitting. The Israeli military said it struck more than 100 targets within 10 minutes on Wednesday across Lebanon, the largest wave of strikes since March 1st. Lebanese President Joseph Aoun condemned the Israeli attacks as barbaric. Forget about all the Israelis that die from the rockets that are launched by Hezbollah. Forget about that. That's Okay. Arab League chief Ahmed Abul Gate accused Israel of persistently seeking to sabotage the Iran ceasefire deal. That may actually be true. I don't trust Israel. I don't trust Bibi. Hezbollah has not confirmed if it will abide by the ceasefire, though the group has said it was open to giving mediators a chance to secure an agreement because they want the bombing to stop. They want to regroup. They want to regroup. While Iran could not match the sophistication of U.S. and Israeli weaponry on their dominance in the air, its ability to control the Strait of Hormuz proved a tremendous strategic advantage. Israel attacks and threats deterred many commercial ships from passing through the waterway. 20% of all traded oil and natural gas passes through that area in peacetime, most of it to China and South Korea and Japan. That rolled the world economy and raised the pressure on Trump, both at home and abroad, to find a way out of the standoff. I don't think Trump's going to back down. I don't think Trump's going to say, okay. We need the oil to flow. We'll stop bombing you. But Iran's going to continue to bomb other countries and continue to kill their own people. And they're just going to replace all the mullahs and off we go again. And they're going to continue to enrich uranium. The plan allows for both Iran and Oman to charge ships, according to a regional official who spoke on condition of anonymity to discuss negotiations they were directly involved in. They're going to charge them a toll for going through the strait, and they're going to use the money for reconstruction. Whatever. They're going to use the money to build more missiles, rockets, and tunnels. That would upend decades of a precedent treating the strait as an international waterway that was free to transit and will likely not be acceptable to the Gulf Arab states, which also need to rebuild after repeated Iranian attacks targeting their oil fields. It's a mess. So this is the ceaseless fire that we see going on. We are no closer to a ceasefire, because we have not forced the Iranians to surrender unconditionally. I say the only way to make that happen, don't go blow up their bridges and their power plants, just take the strait. Take possession of the strait, both sides, east and west. Make sure the seaways are clear and destroy anything that tries to hinder traffic through that area. That's the only way to do it. That's the only way to do it. Iran, the reigning power in Iran will choke to death and die if you cut off their revenue. And that's what has to be done. All right, Earth Explorers, let's take a quick break. I think I can hear the music. Yes. We'll take a quick break for 3 minutes, and we will be right back after this. Don't go away. More America Free Radio right after this.
Listen to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
Tune in to the Family Industrial Complex podcast here on Revolution Radio, Studio B, every Wednesday, 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Get fit, empowered, physically, mentally, and spiritually.
The rooster has crowed out the opening bars of a new day. You've dragged yourself out of bed. You turn on your device. You want to know what's going on in the world. But you're hungry for a topical show that serves up those breakfast headlines just that little bit differently. Do you like your early morning news the way you like your eggs over easy? Served with slathers of salsa-like sass? Do you like those first headlines of the day to deliver a punch as powerful as that first cup of joe? Join Mitchell Bupp at his breakfast table for Revolution in the Morning, where he will digest, dissect, and dismantle those new day's national and global news headlines with razor-sharp relish. Find Mitchell here at revolution.radio every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday morning, 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern on Studio B.
Through everything, we have to remember that we have more in common than not in common. And to find this common ground, tune in to Conversations with Eagle Flower, Wednesdays, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Studio A. Because we come to this table of life to learn in the best possible way and experience this gift of life from our mutual creator. So let's learn together and build our best future with Conversations with Eagle Flower, Wednesdays, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Studio A on Revolution Radio.
I will defend myself against their tyranny. Number 3 is my radio broadcast. I'm squarely in front of the public all the time, and they all know what's going on.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence.
Hello, my name is John Wayne, and I do a broadcast here at freedomslips.com, revolution.radio, called The Unequivocal Truth, DEFCON 1.
Freedom and fear are at war.
And folks, I assure you, we are in Defense Condition 1 as we journey perilously through this paradigm that we currently reside in. And I ask that you join me every Saturday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for The Unequivocal Truth, DEFCON 1.
We'll never surrender.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. Any commercial advertising you may hear in this program is of the sole discretion and benefit of the host of whose program you are listening to. Revolution Radio does not endorse any commercial products, nor does it accept monetary compensation for on-air advertising of commercial products, nor will it ever. We are and shall remain 100% listener supported. Any product advertising on this program are considered used at higher risk, and Revolution Radio shall not be held liable for any claims or damages received from any product advertised within this program. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Thanks for hanging in there while we took that short break. Now back to America Free Radio with host Brooks Agnew here at Revolution Radio.
Great job, Revolution Radio. Great job. We would be nowhere without our Revolution Radio listeners. 4 million strong, scattered all over the world. iHeart, TuneIn, Orange, everywhere where audio podcasting can be found live and free. You can hear America Free Radio through Revolution Radio. If you're listening by audio, pay close attention because we're going to go to my website, which is brooksagnew.com, brooksagnew.com. If you're watching by video, it's very easy. All we're going to do is click this button right here and go to Brooks Agnew's homepage. You'll know you're in the right place because it'll say, I'm Brooks Agnew. There's my picture. It doesn't get any simpler than that, right? There are two blue buttons on the front cover. I have people ask me about this all the time. How do I get ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine and fenbendazole and mebendazole? How do I get those things? Well, you can find out by clicking this button right here. It takes you to a special page inside my website, Health and Safety. You'll buy a digital report from me about these wonderful products, and samples will be sent to you. We're trying to get to 4-day delivery. We're not there with this product, Ivan, yet, because U.S. Customs is running kind of slow. They're running about 8 weeks behind right now because of the Democrat shutdown. But we will get through this. We will get through this. Fear not. Every single order will be delivered. And you can also get fenbendazole, which is a great product. You already know what it does, also known as Panacure. 100 tablets for wholesale prices. And then there's mebendazole. Some people call it mebendazole, but mebendazole is the right way to say it. And this has been known for 40 years. People have been taking it safely for 40 years. And it's used for therapy of various cancers and has been shown to reduce or eliminate tumors. It is an antiparasitic drug with over 40 years of safe use. That is a quote directly from the patent on this drug. And yes, you can get it wholesale. All you have to do is click this button and buy the digital report and you're good to go. And of course, hydroxychloroquine. This is a box right here. You can see. We can deliver this almost overnight. You order it tonight, it will ship tomorrow, and you'll have it on Saturday. That's how quick we can get it to you. Same with the fenbendazole. And very soon, it will be that way with the other products as well. That's why we opened our U.S. warehouse. I don't know what you ordered, Kay. If you ordered Fenben on the 3rd of March and still haven't gotten it, it's probably because you ordered it with ivermectin. The ivermectin is back ordered about 7 to 8 weeks. That's why it hasn't shipped. Now, if you want me to ship all the fenbendazole, I can do that, and you can wait for your ivermectin, but I assumed that you wanted them both at the same time. And don't forget, if you need to know how to use these things, fenbendazole, ivermectin protocols, a practical handbook. I don't make a dime on it. I'm just listing it. So you can click the button and get the handbook. It's affordable. And don't forget about your True Niagen. True Niagen makes you younger. Everybody knows this now. The NAD, the nicotinamide riboside, is actually what makes you younger. It extends the telomeres on your chromosomes, which keeps you young, and it adds tons of mitochondria to your muscles, which makes you young. Your skin, your eyes, your endurance, your organs, everything love this. You used to make it fine when you were 45 years old, but if you're no longer 45, you're starting to age. And what's going to happen is you're going to die of malnutrition. They call it old age, but it's malnutrition. And it's because your DNA, your chromosomes, can no longer make healthy tissue. So fix it. Fix it. Start taking True Niagen. Thousands of my friends take it. They all swear by it. And no one quits because it makes you feel that much better. And don't forget about your zinc. You have to have zinc. It's what helps keep your cells healthy. Zinc, magnesium, and vitamin B complex. We call it Zima, and it's the one I take every single day. And don't forget about your Insulus. I just put some under my tongue during the break. I do it about 3 times a day. This is what lowers your A1C number. It is a tincture. It goes under the tongue, goes sublingual. It doesn't get destroyed in the stomach. It goes right into the bloodstream, and it helps lower those A1C numbers. So if you're sitting up there around 13, 14, you need to get down to 7 or 8 again, that's the stuff. That's how it works. Okay, let's get back to it because we got a lot of stuff we have to cover yet. Well, I will check your order. I'll ship it in the morning then. But that's usually what holds it up, is somebody orders it with something else. If you don't have a tracking number, you're not going to get it in 3 days, but you'll get a tracking number as soon as I print the label. All right, let's talk a little bit about disclosure. Aren't things getting interesting, don't you think? I mean, Spielberg's coming out with a movie, and then you got, this great movie, Hail Mary, that's out there, knocking the ticket office down, doing really well. Yeah, don't trust the Amazon ivermectin, okay? If you're going to buy that stuff, you're going to end up with something from China. I wouldn't do it. We sell the stuff that's FDA approved for human use. Yeah, and you can't get it cheaper anywhere. No one's going to sell it cheaper than we do. Because I'm a one-man operation, okay? I have no overhead, but it pays for everything. Shipping, everything. A sitting congresswoman just connected UFO disclosure to biblical cover-up in a way that changes everything. You know who Representative Anna Paulina Luna is, right? I mean, take one look at her and you can't forget her, right? She isn't just talking about craft in the sky. She's asking why the King James Bible was rewritten, why books were removed, and whether the angels our ancestors described were actually UAPs. Now, the Ethiopian Orthodox text has 88 books. I know this because I have a copy and we're reading through it. King James only has 66. So what was deleted and why? Luna represents Pinellas County, Florida, one of the highest UAP activity zones in the country. Alaska, the Florida coast, the Bermuda Triangle, all hotspots. All in areas where federal agencies maintain heavy presence. Kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? When she first started pushing for disclosure, colleagues warned her it would destroy her political career. But she kept asking questions. Powerful people kept asking questions. Her argument, and really all you have to do is have me and Mike Barra on your program. Just call us to Washington and we'll tell you everything you need to know, okay? You'll know where to go, you'll know who to ask, you'll know what to ask. Her argument about foreign governments is striking. If China and Russia had technology this advanced, the United States wouldn't still be the dominant global power. We'd know. They would use it. They would use it. The fact that we're still number one while these craft operate with impunity suggests that technology is not of this planet. It's not a foreign country that has it. It's somebody else. The biblical editing angle is where this gets dangerous for institutional narratives. Luna pointed to the game of telephone problem. After 2,000 years of translation, retranslation, and deliberate editing by councils and kings, how much of the original testimony survived? If ancient people witnessed advanced craft and non-human beings, they would have described them using the only framework available, the religious language, right? angels, chariots of fire, beings descending from the heavens, right? You go to Egypt and look at the carvings on the wall. What do you see? You go down into Dendera or go to Chichen Itza, or you go to Tula. What do you see? You see it all. And then those texts, by and large, were edited. The books were removed. The passages were rewritten. The King James Version was a political document as much as a religious one. She's right. It was commissioned by a monarch who needed theological justification for his authority. What didn't serve that agenda got cut. We know this. Same thing with the Council of Nicaea in 310. The bishops that did not want to go along, that believed something else, that had their own personal revelation, they cut their heads off. They just cut their heads off, and the rest of the bishops fell right in line. Some researchers believe UAPs represent non-human intelligence that's been interacting with humanity for a long time. When I ask the question at conferences, how long do you think aliens have been on the earth? There isn't a single person in there that doesn't say at least 20,000 years, 100,000 years, 1,000,000 years. Well, if that's the case, they could have taken over the world anytime they wanted. When we were shooting arrows at each other, when we only knew how to work bronze, they could have easily taken over the world. That's not what they do. That's not what they do. They've never done that. They've never enslaved human beings. They've manipulated us through governments. It's documented in every major religious tradition before those records were sanitized by institutional gatekeepers. Others argue Luna is conflating separate phenomenon, seeking patterns where none exist. I think she's right on the money. She needs to read my book. And maybe she did. And that biblical editing was about theological disputes, not evidence suppression. If the beings described as angels in unedited texts were actually UAPs, what else did ancient witnesses see that got erased from the official record? Wouldn't you like to know? How does this square with the reality of Jesus? Right? I ask this question all the time when Tim Burchett talked about a forced breeding program with aliens. Matt Gaetz talked about a forced breeding program with aliens. I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. We are anatomically closer to pigs than we are aliens, and we can't have offspring with pigs. That's how DNA works, my friend. We can't just have sex with another race from another world, another age, and have offspring. And even if we could, or they could, if it was an alien female or a human female, who gets the body? Who gets the body? Is it 51% alien, 49% human, 51% human, 49%? Who gets the body? Is it a spirit in the image of God? Or is it a spirit from the aliens? And if it's a spirit from the aliens, how would they know? How would they even freaking care about all the aliens that have died and where the alien spirit is stuck somewhere and needs a body? How would they know? You see how primitive that thought is? How primitive that thought is? It'd be like Cro-Magnons having a forced breeding program with modern females. Why? Who would want a Cro-Magnon human or a human Cro-Magnon? Right? If we are in the image of God, and I believe we are, and we are given the power and authority to do what he did and more, then perhaps this explains why UAPs do not interact with you and me. They don't interact with us. They don't interact with a normal child of God human beings. They don't. There's no conference out there where aliens show up and speak to people. They don't land. They fly overhead, but they don't land. They don't come out and say, hey, we've been here for 80,000 years. Wouldn't you like to know what we know? They don't mix with us ever, ever, in any age, ever. They choose only to interact with the demons who control the world. You understand what I'm saying? The Russians, the Chinese, the Japanese, our own government, our own whatever organization we have inside the Pentagon that deals with this stuff, they're the ones working with the aliens. So ask yourself the question. It's a simple dichotomy here. Either we are working with them or they are working with us. And each one has a different ramification, by the way. If they truly have been here for millennia and they are working with us, then they're responsible for our world condition. They are the reason why we have been at war with each other since the earth cooled. They're the reason why we can't get along. Some alien is in a back room saying, you have to do this, you have to do that. Here's a weapon, here's intel, here's a little piece of technology you can use against your enemies. And they've been doing it since we were throwing rocks at each other. Balancing the power everywhere. You get steel, they get steel. You get armor, they get armor. You learn to fly, they learn to fly. You get a nuclear weapon, they get a nuclear weapon. They balance it so that we keep fighting. Nobody ever wins. Everybody loses. Even the winners lose. When Christopher Columbus arrived at this nation and this continent, he found Native Americans here. Oh my goodness, really? Yes. And what were they doing? To a tribe, almost to a tribe. They were riding across the frozen tundra and wiping each other out. The Sioux, the Blackfoot, the Apache, they all wiped each other out constantly. Why? Not enough buffalo, not enough trout, not enough berries, not enough corn. Come on, people, come on. Ask them why they did it. They did it because their gods told them to do it. That's why they made the totem poles. That's why they had the kachinas. That's because aliens were telling them what to do. You need to go wipe this tribe out. Why? They're 2 states away. They don't bother us. Because we want you to. And they did. Maybe the aliens have been screwing with the human race since the very beginning. But as I said, we're in the image of God. And we have authority. Everybody that I know that's actually had an interaction with an alien being were absolutely terrified from it. They had nightmares for the rest of their life. They were terrified. They didn't feel any love at all. It was all evil. Now, why these things get glorified at various conferences, I don't know. Nordics, Pleiadians, Arcturians, oh man, I've heard all the names, every one of them. Dolores Cannon used to say, there are 38 races here on the earth, and I'm the only one authorized to speak to them all. Whatever. You thought the Mexicans built the pyramids in Egypt? Well, maybe. I mean, they built the ones out of granite, in the Yucatan, and there are some in Mexico, but the ones in Mexico are not made of stone. They're made of cement. Yeah, they took little lava rocks this big and they cemented them together. Go to Teotihuacan. You'll see what I'm saying. Teotihuacan, Temple of the Sun, Temple of the Moon, and there's thousands of other small pyramids out there in the surrounding jungle. They're not made of stone. They're made of cement. Yeah, and then they were covered with white limestone. And there was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. But I doubt very seriously the Mexicans built the temples or the pyramids in Egypt. In fact, I'm deadly sure that the Egyptians didn't build the pyramids in Egypt. Not the original ones. The original 3 on Giza, when Egyptus walked into the Nile River Valley, they were standing there. That complex with the pyramids and the Sphinx and the flooded, if you ever go there, you'll know exactly. They're docks. They're docks. And when the Nile would flood, these would fill up with water. And it was a place where you could take a boat right in and dock it right there in front of the Sphinx. Magnificent complex. The Egyptians didn't build that. They inherited it. And then they tried to copy it for several thousand years and couldn't do it. Yeah. Been there, seen it, walked all through it, had my hands on it. Trust me, as an engineer, that's exactly what happened. And if the modern Egyptians really want to impress me, restore it all. Take all the stuff that was blown to hell, stones blown out in the sand. If you go to Abu Ghraib, you're going to see this. If you go to Abu Sir, you're going to see it, stones blown everywhere. You want to impress me? Go put it all back together. Go put it all back together. Just replace the stones that were actually broken, and they're not many. They're just toppled over. Build Heliopolis again outside of Cairo. Build it. I promise you, if you build it, they will come. If you build it, hundreds of millions of people will come to Egypt to see it. But you can't. You can't. They're just ruins. They're just ruins, and you've been bilking the entire world to come and see the ruins that happen to be in your country. You had nothing to do with it. Yeah, you want to impress me? Restore it. Put the pyramids back the way they were. Coat them in limestone. Put the clear quartz stone on the top. Clean up all the grounds. Let the Nile River come in and flood that again and get it all back to the water condition that it was in 5,000 years ago. Yeah, Farrakhan pound sand. Right. Zawi Hawass. It's not Farrakhan. It's Zawi Hawass. Louis Farrakhan. What a joke. What a joke. No, the Romans didn't take the pyramid stones. It was like Napoleon that shot them with cannons and blew them apart. Because the Egyptians had no clue what they were. No clue. All right, let's talk a little bit about, I don't want to talk about this, but it's near and dear to my heart, and that's Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood is aborting more babies than it ever has before. Nothing has slowed down. Nothing has slowed down. Oh, for crying out loud. Come on, that's not what I want to do. The abortion giant continues to receive more taxpayer cash than it ever has. It used to receive $50 million a year from the Democrats. $50 million a year. I'm sorry, I misspoke. $500 million a year. $500 million a year. And then they would turn right around and donate $50 million of the money that they just got from the American taxpayer. They would donate $50 million to the Democrat Party. $0 to the Republicans. Nothing. Obviously, this is a money laundering operation to take taxpayer money and pay it to the Democrats. Let me tell you something. $50 million a year with a blank check helps handle a lot of down ballot elections. You can buy a lot of ballots for that amount of money. The Title 10 grants, which, by the way, were sanctioned by the Biden administration right under the current administration's nose. The Trump administration decided at the end of March to allow the flow of family planning taxpayer dollars to flow to abortion businesses like Planned Parenthood. And this refusal, and believe me, we've been harping on this since 1987. Wow. I think 1988, I was the president of Rutherford County chapter, which was the biggest chapter in the state of Tennessee, of Right to Life. I know all about Planned Parenthood and their activities, believe me. The refusal to cut off the last of the Biden-era funding for the nation's largest abortion mill, which dedicates a majority of its services to abortion, not prenatal oversight, not birth control, not cancer screenings, not, mammograms. That's a very, very small amount. Very small amount. Live Action called for the decision to be immediately reversed. SBA Pro-Life America President Marjorie Dannenfelser dubbed it a clear abandonment and noted that the first Trump administration enacted the Protect Life rule to stop Title 10 funding of Planned Parenthood. It worked. It should have been the day one policy in the second administration, but instead we are 14 months in and this has not been prevented. Senator Josh Hawley from Missouri, great guy. I was there the day he got elected. It was awesome when he beat McCluskey. It was a tremendous celebration in Jefferson City, Missouri. Also penned a letter to Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to express alarm at the continued subsidization of abortion businesses. Quote, during your confirmation hearing last January, I asked if you would reinstate the first Trump administration rule preventing Title 10 funding for entities that perform abortions. This is what Hawley wrote in his April 2nd letter. To your credit, you answered unequivocally, yes. But to my knowledge, no rulemaking process appears to have yet begun. And taxpayer money continues to flow to abortion providers, and the abortion providers are flowing money back to the Democrat Party. Despite widespread skepticism about the Trump administration's motives, this latest decision is not the end of the Title 10 funding fight. I'm glad. In fact, a new HHS funding notice for 2027 suggests the Trump administration is willing to flip the taxpayer-funded family planning model on its head and put an end to the subsidized promotion of abortion and harmful contraception. The 2019 Protect Life rule, Dannenfelser and Hawley referenced, barred Title 10 recipients from using tax dollars to perform, promote, refer to, or support abortion as a method of family planning. To avoid complying with the mandated financial and physical separation of federal funds from their abortion activities, baby-killing businesses like Planned Parenthood opted out. Mere months into Joe Biden's presidency, HHS proposed a rule that not only reversed the Trump-era prohibition on taxpayer-funded abortions, but also demanded Title 10 providers offer abortion counseling and referrals against their constitutionally protected conscious objections for the next 5 years. They killed a lot of babies. The number one cause of death in the world. No, it is not heart disease. Nope, it's not cancer. The number one cause of death in the world is abortion. 53 million abortions take place every single year. and it's all paid for by the taxpayers. Instead of restoring the rule that would once again put Planned Parenthood under the pressure to separate its abortion activities from taxpayer funding, the second Trump administration attempted to freeze grants to the Title X recipients over possible violations of the president's diversity, inclusion, and equity discrimination executive order. The American Civil Liberties Union jumped to sue the administration over the financial withholding, but saw the case dismissed when HHS quietly released the funds in December. You win. You win. We'll give them the money. Trump and Congress partnered to pass the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, which included provisions to defund Planned Parenthood, but only managed to secure the financial starve for 1 year. So the Trump administration will honor the fifth and final year of the Title X grants that were locked in place during the Biden presidency, after it faced significant legal challenges in stopping any of these dollars from going out. It's going to be a tough fight because the Democrats do not want to give up this money. The notice emphasized that beginning in April of 2027, none of the funds appropriated under this title shall be used in programs where abortion is a method of family planning. It doesn't really matter. You have to cut off the agency, and here's why. Let's say you have a friend, and you care for the friend, and your friend has financial troubles all the time, and your friend comes to you and says, I really need $150 to pay my electricity bill, or they're going to cut my electricity off, and you don't want my kids to not have electricity because they won't be able to do their homework or take a shower or anything. And you say to yourself, oh, that's terrible. That's awful. I'll pay your utility bill for you. But you don't give them the money. You don't give them the money. You go down to the power company and you pay his utility bill. Just because you think, he might, can I borrow $5 for a meal? And they're going to go get a bottle of Wild Irish Rose. So you pay the light bill. And then the next Friday and Saturday and Sunday, he's completely drunk on his ass. And you think to yourself, at the races, and you think to yourself, how did you have the money to go to the races and get drunk for 3 days? Oh, because you paid my light bill. You freed up the money that I was going to spend on the light bill so I could get drunk at the races for 3 days. Well, if you put two and two together, Earth Explorers, you realize you bought the alcohol and the race tickets so he could go get drunk. That's why this matters. You can't just say, oh, you can't use the money for abortions. You have to use it over here. They'll just say, okay, well, the money we were spending over here, which you're now paying for, we're going to move over here and do abortions with it. It's the same freaking $500 million. It goes into the general fund. They just steal from one program or the other that they're doing, and they end up doing just as many abortions as they did the year before, if not more. You have to cut it off. You have to say, no more money. No more money from the federal government. The new HHS plan signals a move away from over-reliance on pharmaceutical and surgical treatments toward body literacy and less invasive natural planning methods. In other words, birth control. Does anybody know how effective birth control is? What's the percentage that birth control is its effectiveness? Anybody know in the chat room? I know what it is. I'm just quizzing you out. I'm sure many of you took birth control. Some doctor there said, oh, it's percent effective at preventing pregnancy. What is that percentage? Anybody in the chat room know? Let me check Foxhole just to be sure. Anybody know? Yeah. Oh, 85%, Cromwell says. Wow. No, actually, it's 95%. 95% effective. Oh, that's great. 95%. I'm going to be sexually active, baby. Okay. So we take 20 million young women who are sexually active and are taking birth control. 20 million is a round number. Okay. Well, you said 15%. What's 5% of 20 million? What's 5% of 20 million? Come on, guys. All right, 5% of 1 million is $5,000, right? All right, it's 50,000. 5% of 20 million, yes, is 100,000. 100,000 unwanted pregnancies from women who are on the pill. It's 95% effective. And that, of course, depends on how you take it. Do you take it as prescribed, or do you miss a day and take two? Or right? I mean, for sure, every girl takes it every single day because they don't know if they're going to be sexually active today or not. Right? And it's not just girls, it's married women too take it. They don't want a baby right away, or a baby this year, or maybe a baby next year. So they take it. It's 100,000. And out of that 100,000 unwanted pregnancies, how many are going to have abortions? Yeah, it's a large number. Birth control feeds the system. Why? How does birth control feed the abortion industry? Because the only way to not get pregnant, and they figured this out, it was a few years ago, I'm not exactly sure when it was, but they figured out what causes pregnancy. I know it's strange physiology, science, I don't know, you've got to be good at stuff like that. But they figured out what causes it. And they discovered that the cause is 100% preventable. Yeah, it's true. It's true. All the woman has to do is keep her pants on, and she doesn't get pregnant. And I'm pro-choice. I think every single woman has the right to get pregnant or not get pregnant. It's her choice. If she doesn't want to get pregnant, you cannot force her to get pregnant. It's just not right. Birth control takes that choice away. Birth control says, well, I'm protected, so I'm going to go have sex. And 100,000 babies are born. Yeah. Wow. If it was 85%, Cromwell, we would be in really big trouble. We'd have a whole lot more babies aborted. You tried the blue pills that got stuck in your throat? Oh, you had... I get it. Well, some people have the depot shot? You get one a month and you don't get pregnant, but you gain weight uncontrollably and turn into a snappy bitch. I don't know, man. I don't know if I would do it. Yes, keep your knees together. That's what Boy Dogs 2 says. Or you can wear thick glasses. That works too. It works for boys, I will tell you that. If boys wear thick glasses, they're not going to have sex. No. We expect applicants to demonstrate how their Title X projects will integrate non-invasive, evidence-based practices that promote healthy literacy, fertility awareness, and reproductive health without unnecessary medicalization or symptom suppression, the notice states, noting that the most common reason women reported discontinuing birth control are related to dissatisfaction with the side effects. It could be that they gain weight and they are emotional all the time, and it's hard. The female reproductive system, female hormone system has two main hormones, estrogen and progesterone. And there has never been an effective copy of those hormones. No. What the birth control pill does is it tricks your body into thinking that it's already pregnant. And that way, when you ovulate, the cell that's coming down that may or may not be fertilized can't attach to the uterine wall. It's sloughed out with the menstrual period. So it prevents the pregnancy. Well, no. It doesn't prevent the pregnancy. It prevents the development of a placenta to support the baby because it tells your body you're already pregnant. So you get, all the side effects with that. Very few women can take the proper strength of birth control for them just to keep from getting pregnant without major effects to their emotions and gaining about 15 pounds of unwanted weight. So women stop taking it. And sometimes women are saying, well, I'm not really sexually active enough to keep taking birth control all the time. I mean, come on, we've been married for 3 years. We have sex maybe 2 times a month. And I'm pretty careful with my period. But you know what they call people that use the rhythm method, don't you? They call them parents. Yeah, the best way is, like Boy Dogs 2 says, keep your knees together. But what's the fun in that, right? HHS also repeatedly hinted at the creation of a new Title X funding opportunity for the next 5-year funding cycle that prioritizes life and promotes pro-family agenda. I like it. Give people pregnancy counseling, and if they do get pregnant, help them with the pregnancy. Don't terminate the pregnancy. Asking pro-lifers to be patient while hundreds of thousands of babies' lives are at risk, especially when they've seen little or no movement on the administration's promises to investigate and act on the dangerous abortion pill, is risky. But apparently, it's a risk the administration is willing to take, so long as it's followed by realigning. Wow. That was totally misspelled in the thing I'm reading. Realigning the Title X program with the president's pro-life and pro-family agenda going forward. It is a matter of, when I was a teenager, late teenager, 18, 19 years old, I was in the Air Force. I hate to admit this, actually. I was a virgin very late in life because I was afraid of having an unwanted child. So I didn't mess around that way. No, I didn't. I didn't want a baby anywhere until I was married, right? It doesn't mean I didn't have sex, but I'll tell you, it was not often. I was a nerd anyway. I was just like I am today, a complete nerd, a total social retard. So you don't have to worry about it. I wasn't. I was not cool at all in school. No. All right, let's talk a little bit about birthright. We have one more thing to cover here. Jeff Foxworthy was a comedian, and he said, if you were born on a flight over U.S. airspace, you might be a U.S. citizen. That's pretty much true. The latest birthplace debate, you are going to die when you hear this story, underscores just how insanely stupid the sweeping birthright citizenship has become in the modern age of America. Multiple corporate outlets had some fun reporting on the stork story of a passenger who gave birth over the weekend during a flight from Jamaica to New York City. Yeah, she was about 9.7 months pregnant. ready to go at any moment. And the Caribbean Airlines flight landed at New York's John F. Kennedy International Airport with one more person that it took off with. As the cheeky piece explained, the citizenship status of the newborn remained up in the air because officials had yet to make clear the citizenship status of the parents. And where the plane was at the exact moment the baby was born. The child would, of course, automatically be a U.S. citizen if either parent was a U.S. citizen, but they weren't. So it depended on precisely where the birth occurred. If the answer is within 12 nautical miles of the U.S. coastline, the newborn just won the U.S. citizenship lottery. A child born on a plane in the United States or flying over its territory would acquire United States citizenship at birth. That's what the State Department says. That's their State Department rule. It's been that way for 138 years. All of this drives home the amazing point that the expansive view of birthright citizenship is a bastardization of the law. It needs to end. As I said, in the 138-year period between the Kim Wong-Ark lawsuit, which was won by Kim because he was a Chinese man born in this country to Chinese parents who were not citizens, he lived here until his adult life, owning a business, owning a home, traveled to China. This is 1858, I think. Visited his family, went to come back, and he was barred from entry because of the Chinese Immigration Act that didn't want any more immigrants from China. And he said, I'm not an immigrant. I was born here in this country. I have a business. I have a home. I have children. And he sued, and he won. He prevailed upon the court in San Francisco and won. That court decision, and this is why they're talking about a bastardization of that decision, took only part of the ruling, which was, he was born in this country to illegal immigrants, and so therefore he's a citizen, and left out the rest of it, which said, and he is a permanent resident here, and he has a home and a business and children. He's subject to our laws. But they threw that part out. So what they did between 1858 and today, okay, that's about 138 years, or I'm sorry, 1898, till now, how many years do you think Republicans have controlled government? That is to say, the president, the Senate, and Congress. 12 years. 13 now. 13 years. That's it. The rest of the time, Democrats controlled one or more parts of government. Republicans did not have control of government. And so the Democrats, in order to grow their party, turned every single person that's born in this country into a citizen so that they could grow their constituency. Last week, the court heard the oral arguments. It isn't over yet. It's not over yet. Trump versus Barbara. A challenge to President Donald Trump's first day in office executive order denying automatic citizenship to children born to illegal aliens or to birth tourists and others that have long gamed the system. By the way, eight birth tourism networks in California have been raided, and everybody's been arrested, and proper deportations have happened. It's more complicated than you think, because a lot of these women were surrogates. They were American women impregnated with a Chinese zygote. They were giving birth to a Chinese child in this country where the Chinese wife and the Chinese husband had no involvement other than creating the zygote. Now, it seems inconceivable that the three liberals on the court would stand with Trump on doing away with the birthright citizenship. Members of the conservative majority seem skeptical of the government's arguments. And perhaps it's because, for reasons not entirely clear, if you listen to the Solicitor General, John Sauer, he's a brilliant guy, rough voice, but brilliant guy. He failed to press the jurisdictional language of the amendment. They were more going off the statutes, the laws that had established the precedent, and 138 years of precedent. But the justices seem to be missing the key point of the post-Civil War constitutional amendment meant to extend U.S. citizenship to former slaves, not to grant it to millions of children of non-citizens by virtue of being born within the boundaries of America. Of course, you already know what the amendment says. I'm not going to read that to you again. But what does it mean to be subject to the jurisdiction of the United States? Does it simply mean that you're here and you have to obey the laws like everybody else, or does it mean something deeper? Well, that's where you have to ask the person. You know, for instance, children born to foreign diplomats in the United States are not U.S. citizens because they're simply not subject to the jurisdiction of this country. Perhaps because it comes at the end. It has been treated as an afterthought, but careful reading shows how central the term reside is. The clause does not say born, or physically present, or pass through on a tourist visa. Citizenship is granted only to those who actually reside, establishing a precondition for the clause's application. And I think that's where the split is going to be. The justices on the higher court in the land may not get it, but I get it, and they should too. As Rasmussen reports, a national poll released yesterday, 59% of likely U.S. voters support limiting automatic birthright citizenship to births where at least one parent is a U.S. citizen or a legal permanent resident. And I'm not even going to go that far. That includes 39% who strongly support such limits. About 1/3 surveyed are opposed, including 23 who strongly oppose limitations. And that's it. The consequences are very severe. I don't know if you know this or not, but approximately 9% of all live births in this country last year, 9% were to foreigners, were to illegals, or surrogates, or birth tourism. 9% of all the births in this country were illegal, and yet they were considered citizens. You can think on that, have emotions about it, call your congressman and say, what the F is going on? I don't know if they could put that in a pill, Tupacs. If they could, I bet it would sell really well. Listen, this is America Free Radio. My name is Brooks Agnew. I've been your host for the last 2 hours. We're here every Wednesday, every Sunday at 8 p.m. Please tell your friends about it. And don't forget, and I will check on your Fenbendazole K. Don't worry about that. Peace, Earth Explorers. Now go and do great things. Look for the good in others and help it to grow a little every day. And before long, you will save the planet. That's what we're here to do. That's what we're here to do. All right, Earth Explorers, we're out of here. Peace and have a great rest of the week.
Thank you for listening.